Good morning, everyone. In the morning session, we discuss about the wildcard parameter. So today we are going to discuss about the how we can add wildcard with the bounded parameter. So these two, how we can implement here, because whatever we discuss here, so this particular bounded type here, the bounded type basically we are going to make the type conditions here. So whatever the type we are going to use, we are going to make as the particular type condition. So same way, how we are using this particular wildcard whenever we are trying to pass this particular method parameter, and here we can type so any number of data type. So that is indicating it. So this particular question mark here. Okay, now we'll try to include these two into one class here. Okay, how we can include this particular wildcard as well as the bounded here. And observe carefully, I am going to write the simple example. This particular example will give you the more understanding of this particular so two informations here. Here I am trying to create as a 2D. So this is the two-dimensional coordinates I am trying to create here. And this 2D, what exactly it will do internally? I am going to write x comma y. Okay, I am going to write x comma y, and into a comma b, x is equals to a, and y is equals to b. Okay, so once we define this, now what I'm doing here, I'm trying to provide the one more class. Okay, and here 3D I'm creating, and this particular 3D now it is extended with 2D. So what we need to write? We need to write the so one more constructor, because we define the two parameters constructor. And here what I'm doing is I'm trying to expand with this particular constructor with a t value something like into c. After this, z is equals to c. Z is equals to 3. Now what I'm doing here, one more class I'm trying to define here. Observe carefully. We define the 2D, 2 parameters, 3D, 3 parameters. So I'm going to write one more class, 4D. This particular class can contain the 4 parameters. Okay. So 2D, 3D, and 4D. And here I'm going to write here something like into T. Okay. So T is equals to D. Now, what we can understand, how many classes we created? The classes we created here, first one as a 2D, second one we created as a 3D, and the third one we created as a 4D. Okay, now what I will do, so using this particular classes, now what I'm trying to do here, I'm going to create a one more class. So this particular class we are making as a our bounded type here. Now observe carefully how I'm trying to make this particular class with a bounded type. So I'm trying to write as a chords here. This particular chords now it is trying to extend with our generic type. Okay. So this is the condition I'm making. This will call it as a the bounded type. Okay. Yesterday we discussed about this particular bounded type. how it is going to work. Now, what I'm doing here, I'm trying to write this particular T. It is nothing but array type I'm defining. So see, this is the codes I'm trying to write here. And internally, so I'm trying to expand in this, the constructor. Okay, the type we are passing to this particular constructor and which is expecting array of values, not the single values. Now here what we can do, here we can write the method. Static void show xy. And what happens internally, I'm trying to expanding this. This is the class type and this is the wildcard type we are using here because we cannot understand like which class is going to extend here. So 2D class or 3D or 4D class. And here now what I'm doing here, I'm trying to write the particular C, and here also you can write the condition. So what we identified in the example, something like 2D. Okay, here also we can make the condition for this particular wildcard parameter. Getting the point. So if it is important here, you can make the condition. So provide the certain type values. So provide the certain type values. I'm not interested right now. I'm using as it is here. And observe carefully. So this is we are going to pass here. Whenever I'm trying to pass this is the method parameter. And after this, now what I will do, I'm going to print the one statement here, something like xy. Okay, so these are all the x values, x and y values we are going to print here. But how I'm trying to print here? So observe carefully. Int I is equals to 0 and I less than c dot. So we am trying to call this particular cost dot length here. So based on this particular length, this particular loop will repeat and I plus plus. And now what I'm doing here, I'm trying to print this. So here I'm trying to load one object here. Whenever I'm trying to load one object, from this particular one object, now I'm trying to call x. Where we define this particular x and y, we define inside this particular superclass. Observe carefully. This is important, we need to understand here, because if I'm not writing this 2D, if I'm not writing this particular bounded type here, so T cannot understand here what is like from where this particular x value we can load. So because of this, now what happening here, whatever the 2D class we are having and what are the parameter we are going to have, so those parameters we are going to using here. So x and y where we define inside this particular 2D. Inside this particular 2D, we are using this particular x and y. Now the same story I'm trying to print here. Okay, c dot costs dot x, because here this particular costs we are going to provide as a type here. Okay, so this is a type here, and from this particular type we are trying to load this particular x values here. And finally, what I'm doing here I'm trying to load the c dot costs I dot y. Okay, so these are all the values I'm trying to print. So finally, I'm going to print empty println statement. Getting the point. This is important here. If I'm not writing this particular 2D here, we are not going to use the x and we are not going to use the y, because this example we discuss here, whenever we are trying to use this particular bounded type number, So number only, it is having this particular double value. So if I'm not extending with this particular number, what happens internally? We cannot call this particular double value method. Okay. Same way, inside this particular class, if I'm not extending with this particular 2D, what happens internally? We cannot use this particular x and y. So for example, if I'm going to use 3D, if I'm going to use this particular 3D, here you can use one more value, chords I and z also I'm using. Getting the point. So this is important here. Now, compiler, what it will do, it will try to look up this particular 3D class, and inside the 3D, we have only one parameter logically available, sorry, physically available. The remaining two parameters we are having logically, x and y logically available. So z here, it is physically available. Okay, this is we need to understand. Because of this, now we are able to access the all the values here. So x, y, and z. Okay. Now we'll understand this. How we are going to create this. Now if you are interested, now what we can do, now we can define the same method. Getting the point. This is another important information. You can make a above class here. Here you can make 2D. Okay, whenever you are making 2D, you're getting an error because in the 2D we don't have this particular value. Now what I'm doing here I'm trying to write the 3D. So carefully observe. Now carefully observe what we are doing here. So class level we are making as a 2D the condition, and the method level we are making as a 3D. Now whatever the object we are creating here, like whatever the object we are passing here, the object should extend with a 3D or any the subclass here. Getting that. So 3D class we can pass, any subclass we can pass. Like how many classes we can pass here? Only two classes. The first one is a 3D, second one is a 4D. Because 3D is a superclass and 4D is a subclass of this particular 3D. Only these two classes we can pass. So now what we are doing it, I'm trying to override the bounded type parameters into this particular wide card here. Getting the point. This is important here. Okay, so we don't want to create an object because we already identified here how we can create this. How we can create this particular list like the cards object here, and we can pass this method. So any questions here? This is one of the important example we are discussing here. Okay, now this is very important example we can discuss here. You can write the one more method if you are interested. You can write the one more method for this particular 4D purpose. So for example, show static void, and observe here what I'm doing here. I'm trying to extend with this particular cards. Now finally, whatever we are having this particular 4D. Okay, the above method is trying to show the XY. Now this particular below method, now it will try to show all values. Something like F. And now what I will do, here I'm going to copy all the values here. Whatever we implemented, I'm going to copy here. And XYZ. C dot cots I and T. Observe here what we are doing is we are trying to print this particular X, we are printing Y and Z and T. And here the class level we made as a 2D, but method level we are making as is based on our requirement. We can extend with 3D and we can extend with the 4D. So here it will show only X and Y, Z also. X and Y, Z also. If you want to write the one more method, now what we can do? You can write this, you can remove this particular Z here, you can remove from here Z. Okay, X and Y values here. Now here I am trying to remove this 2D. Okay, whenever you are using this particular 2D, now this is the important information. So class level we made as a 2D condition, and method level also we are making 2D and 3D and 4D. This is one of the important example we are discussing. Now what we can do, we'll try to create the object for this particular class. How we can create the object here? So let's observe carefully. Here only what is the main class we can write something like bounded and bounded wildcard menu. Okay, now this is the main class we created, and here I want to create object here. So this is the object here. Now what we can do, so here I'm trying to providing 2D here. Okay, here I will provide this particular 2D. Now whenever you are providing this particular 2D, what we need, here we need a 2D object here. Okay, so two COORDS, two cards here, and here it is expecting 2D array. Here it is expecting 2D. Now whenever it is expecting 2D, what we can do? So 2D, 2 ARR and new. What is the value of this particular 2 it's containing here? Okay, we'll create with same this. Here, what I'm doing here, I'm trying to create this particular array here. Here I will create a size as a 3. Okay, I'm trying to create a size as a 3, and after this T ARR in the 0 index location, new 2D, A value I'm giving 12, 2 value I'm giving as a 24. T ARR and first index location something like 32 comma 42, and this is I'm giving in the second index location 45 and 65. And here now what I will do, here I'm going to pass inside this particular O TARR. Okay, so this is we created object. Now what I will do, I'm going to call So I think we don't need this. Basically, these are all the static method we provided. Now what we can do directly, we can call this particular method with help of the objection. How we can call this particular example here? So observe carefully. Chords dot xy method I'm calling, and this is the parameter I'm passing. Getting the point? And whenever I'm running this, only x and values will print. X and values we are having 12, 24, 32, 42, 45, 65. Okay, so this is the way we can create the 2D. Now same way what we will do, we'll create the 3D here. So how we are going to create the 3D? And after calling this only, I can call 3D th I'm making here. Okay, and here whenever we are making, so it is containing one more parameter. Something like I'm passing only same value, and here I will pass 96. And what we can do, we need to create the object. And here I'm providing 3D type. And 3D also internally it is extending from the 2D. th chords is equals to new. Okay, I did not modify this. Show XYZ. Now this will call the XYZ related information. So observe carefully, XYZ values, these are all the three values. Now finally, what is the final one more method we defined here? Something like 4D. So final step I'm trying to write here. This is important, we need to understand. Here I'm going to write 4D FARR and this is FARR F. Okay, and here what I will do, I'm going to pass one more parameter, something like 12, it is already existed, 36, and here so it's 87, and here 35, and this I will pass here, but this method okay, show all. So these are all the methods we define here. Now if I'm going to expand this output here, now you can see x and y value, x, y, z value, and here x, y, z and t values. So we are having 4 values here. But how we are making the condition, all the conditions, this is very important example we are discussing here. So this is the main class, it's going to play important role here. So first method we come up with a 2D condition, second method we made as a 3D condition, and fourth method we made as a 4D condition. If I'm trying to modify this, So for this particular XYZ, it is need to extend with the 3D. But what happens internally, the 3D XYZ, if I'm trying to pass this particular 2D related information, if I'm trying to pass here, now you can see we are getting an error. Getting the point? So here we are getting an error here because the method, the wildcard parameter, now what we are doing here, we are trying to make the condition. The condition, it is not satisfied here. Okay, this is one of the important example we need to understand here. So how this particular, the wildcard, it is not satisfying here. Okay, now you can see this is expecting 3D, but now what we are passing here, we are passing 2D here. Getting the point? Because of this, it is trying to give me the error. Now, so now observe carefully what happening internally. It is trying to show the suggestions here. Now modify this particular 3D to 2D. Otherwise, so change to this particular like var parameter here. And this particular type we can change to this 3D. Okay, whatever this particular class we are having, we are trying to change to this particular 3D here. So these are all the some suggestions here, but we are not going to follow the any suggestion. So explicitly we only made the condition to write this particular example here. Getting the point? This is important, we need to understand here. This is the one of the very important example we are discussing. And if we observe this particular example, we can easily understand what are all the predefined classes are available and how they created internally this particular bounded type as well as the wildcard parameters here. Because all the collections here, whatever the collection we are having, all the collections are now implemented with the generic concepts here. Getting the point? So whenever this particular generics is introduced in, at the 1.5 version onwards here, they are trying to provide all the parameters like all the methods with the generic here. So all basically the previous whatever the collections we have, all they rewrite with this particular generic concepts here. Okay, the simple example we discussed in the last example, something like array list class I shown here. The array list is one of the collection class here. Okay, so any questions regarding this particular bounded and wide class parameters here?
Sir, I have one doubt. What is meant by collection, sir?
See, collection basically it is a group of values we are going to store. Same like array here. So array basically here if you observe, I created one 4D array and here I'm trying to initializing only the 4D related values here. Okay, in collections also we'll try to specify the generic type. Based on the generic type, we'll try to specify all the values here. The specific data type values only we'll try to store into the appropriate collection. So same like internally, if you see any like most of the collection, so they will follow this particular arrays related example. So I will show you how the collections are going to work internally. We'll get some idea because internally most of the collections are going to use as a this particular arrays algorithms here.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on to the another important concept called how we can create a generic method. So basically here what we are doing here, we are trying to provide the parameter here. Getting the point? So this is the parameter we provided just now, and we created one generic class here. So this is the generic class we created. Same way, how we can create the generic method here. Getting the point? How we can create the generic method. So this is important example we need to understand here. So I'm trying to write the one more class here to create the generic method here. So if we observe this particular generic method, because we in real time, we'll try to write multiple generic methods here. We are going to write multiple generic methods here. Generic method demo. And this particular generic method demo, now what I'm doing is, here I'm trying to provide the name of the method. So static here, this method is trying to return Boolean value and is expecting whether this particular values is available in or not. So is in. Whatever the value we are going to whatever the value we are going to provide here, the value is available or not, we are going to check here. And observe carefully, I'm calling as a isAnd method, and this method is expecting type here. Okay, this is the generic type I'm passing here, and so this is the v I'm trying to give as a values here. So how many the parameters I'm passing here? Two parameters I'm passing. Getting the point? Here I'm trying to pass two parameters. Now you can see how this particular two parameters we can pass here. How this particular two parameters are going to use internally. Now if you observe carefully, I'm getting an error. So why I'm getting this particular t and v? Because same thing we provided to this particular method, and it is not given any error here. But whenever we are trying to define with this particular method, it is giving me an error because so the type we need to define here. Getting the way? The type I'm trying to define this. So observe carefully. Here I'm trying to define t. Sorry. Okay. Now whenever you are defining type t here, the t related error it is gone. Getting the point? Now if I'm trying to define v, getting the point? Now all the errors are resolved, but it is expecting return type here. Now if I'm trying to provide the return type here, so default value I'm making as a false here. The default value I'm making as a false here. So carefully observe what we need to understand here. This is the type, and this is the type, and this is the values I'm going to provide. Now whenever I'm making this particular t comma v, so we can pass the t and v. So here we are providing these are all the types we are going to use for this particular method here. And if you are interested, you can write the conditions also. If you are interested, you can write the conditions here. So what is the condition we can provide here? And if this particular t, if it is extends with this particular one of the predefined class. Earlier we discussed about the number. Now what I'm doing here, I'm trying to define with something like comparable, and internally it will expect as a t. Okay, whatever the t we are going to provide, the t it should extend from the comparable compilable interface. Okay, so this is important here. Whatever the data type, like whatever the type we are going to provide here, the type should extend by default from this particular comparable. So this particular condition we already used here. Now what I'm doing here, again whatever this particular value we are trying to provide, this particular value it can extend from this particular t. It can extend from this particular. So see carefully, here I'm making the conditions here. So directly, if you are not interested to make any conditions, so it will work here. You can remove this particular condition, the extends keyword. Otherwise, now what we can do, we can use as it is here. This is the one of the important example I'm providing here. So just for understanding it, whenever we are making the method as a generic, so this is the syntax we need to follow this. Otherwise, the type and values we cannot use here. Okay. Now what I will do here, I'm going to write the loop here because the v we are going to get as a collection here. The v will get as a collection here. Okay. Now into I is equals to 0. Again, I'm trying to repeat the loop, and here I less than y dot length here. Okay. And finally I plus plus. So once I provide this, now what I'm doing here I'm trying to make the condition here. What is the condition I'm going to make? So x here, x dot equals object I'm going to provide as a here not y. Y basically it is a array type here. So I want to provide the single value, and if it is satisfied, return true. If it is satisfied, I'm making returns true, otherwise I'm trying to return false. But what we need to understand here, it is a generic type. You can pass any values, but whenever we are trying to pass here, we are having some condition. So this is the condition we need to check here. Whatever the type we are passing here, the type should be getting the type here, it should extend from this particular comparable, and whatever the value we are going to pass, the value it should extend from this particular t. Okay, this is one of the important example we are discussing here. Now finally, inside this particular class only, I'm going to write the main method, and inside this particular main method, now what I will do, integer nums. So here only I'm trying to provide this particular numbers. Okay, these are all the values are fine. Now, what I'm doing here, if I'm going to open this particular integer, now you can see integer is a one finally class, and it is extending from this particular number, and internally it is trying to use a comparable. Okay, so whatever the condition we are making here, so it is matching. Getting the point? It is trying to use the same comparable. Now we can go for this particular integer. Now we can go for this particular integer. Okay, this is important. We need to understand. So finally, now what I'm doing is here. So here, now what I will do, I'm going to call this particular method. What is the method I'm calling? Something like the name of the method is in. And here, I'm going to pass. So what is the t I'm passing here? Something like a 2. Okay. And the value I'm going to pass from this particular nums. Observe carefully. The type I'm giving as a 2, and the nums I'm passing as a values. And after this, whatever the two we are having, whether these two available or not inside this particular condition. So if it is available, this particular line will print here. Available in particular nums here. Okay, this is important. But whenever I'm trying to run this, we are not going to get anything because the condition is failure. So this is it's not satisfying. Whenever I'm giving this particular 12 value, now the particular 12 is available. So 12 is available inside this particular nums array. Whatever the number array we give it, so it is available inside this. Because what we are doing here, we are trying to check the equal operator. Like equals method we are calling, and using this particular equals method, we are trying to find out the value. If it is available, we are returning true. We are returning true. So this is the one method calling, and so what I'm going to call, if is in I'm passing here something like 7 I'm going to pass, and here I'm passing as a nums, and this particular number is not available. This particular number is not available. Now what available? 7 is, the 7 is not available inside this particular nums here. So we are getting true. Why we are getting true? Basically here I'm using not condition. Here I'm trying to use this particular not condition. Because of this, we are getting a condition is satisfying, and I'm trying to print this particular message here. So this is very important example we are discussing here. This is very important example we are discussing here. Okay. So finally, what we need to understand here, how we can come up with a different type here. How we can come up with a different types here. Now, observe carefully. Observe carefully. So I'm going to write the string related section. String str here. Here I'm going to provide something like 1, 2, 3, 4 I'm trying to providing, and 5. So we'll go for the up to 6 here. Okay. So this is the string array I'm trying to create. And after this, now what I'm doing is I'm going to call this. And the same method I'm going to call isin method. And here I will pass as a the first parameter something like, here I'm passing 7 comma strs. Okay, now I will print this. Getting the point? I will print this. Why I'm trying to print this? So observe carefully. Here, now what I'm doing is 7 is not available. Okay, not in this particular strs. We can write as a string here. That is a understanding here. Now, what we need to understand here, I'm using the not condition because we did not define the this particular 7 here. Now you can see, so 7 is not available inside this particular string here. Okay, and another one. Now what I will do here, I'm going to make, so I'm remove the not condition. I will make as a 1. Here I'm making 1. Now you can see 1 is available inside this particular string array. And finally, this is not applicable. Okay, whatever we are using this is not applicable here. What is the important information? So you are using the 1 and you cannot go for the nums here. You cannot go for the nums here. So why we cannot use here? What is the condition we made here? Carry the point. This is important here. What is the condition we provided here? Something like here, if you see v, it should extend from this particular t. Whatever the value we are providing here, the value it should extend from this particular t. Now what you understand here? So both the data type should match here. Get it right? This is important here. Whatever the data type we are having, it should match here. So for this purpose here, what happens internally? It is not matching here. Okay, it is not matching here. Because of this, we are getting an error here. Okay, any questions here? Any questions regarding this particular generic method? This is one of the important method we are discussing here. Because in real time scenarios, we are going to write multiple methods like this. So generic type only. So these values we may provide T, A something, but the condition is same. If you are not interested to provide the explicit condition, directly you can go for the type here. Okay, directly you can define this particular T and you can provide the value. And for example, if you are interested to come up with one more parameter, something like here, I want to use as a Z and I'm going to provide this. And what we can do, here only you can write this. Here only you can write this Z. Okay, so this is the way we can provide the Z value, and below we'll get an error because we are passing 3, and in the if condition we are providing only 2. But you can provide any number of parameters. Getting the point? Any number of parameters. But whenever we are providing this particular type, what is the advantage we are getting here? So here you can see we are passing the integer numbers, and here we are passing the string numbers here. Getting the point? So this is a string related data type we are passing, and we are passing this particular integer. Not only this primitive, we can pass as a custom objects. Getting the point? We can pass as a custom object. But for the current example, for example, if I want to pass this box class will give an error. Why the box class will give an error? Because the box class is not extending with this particular comparable. Box class internally, it is not going to extend with this particular comparable here. So because of that, we may get an error. But here, whenever we are trying to providing this particular type, so we need to write the understandable condition. So this is important here. Okay, so if not any conditions here, now I will move on to the generic constructors here. How we can write the constructor. Okay, so let me write the simple example for this particular constructors, because we already discussed about the constructor parameter in our previous example. Now what I will do, the same example. Okay, so instead of doing the same, we'll go for the one more class. And here what we need to understand here, so generic constructors. Okay, CONS is nothing but generic constructors I'm trying to create, and this generic constructor basically, so I'm going to provide double value I'm trying to provide here, and this is the constructor, and here I'm trying to provide as a T. Getting the point? Directly I'm trying to providing as a T. So this particular T, now it is giving me an error. What we can do? What we can do this particular T? So directly you can write here T. You can write here T. So the issue is resolved. Okay. So if you are not interested to make any conditions, directly what we can do, we'll make the T here. Okay. Now observe carefully. Whenever I'm making this particular constructor, here I'm making this particular generic type, so we can use this particular T. And if you are interested to make anything, for example, here org dot, I cannot call the double value or into value something here. If I'm going to call, I'm getting an error here. Okay, I will get an error because so compiler cannot understand what is the T exactly now. So here now what I'm doing is I'm trying to make as a T extend with the number. Now whatever the double value error we got earlier, so it is resolved. And val is equals to, this is I'm trying to pass. This is I'm trying to pass. Okay, this is important, the constructor we are discussing. Right, and finally show the val method I'm trying to print here, and here directly I can print this val. Okay, and this is the simple, because constructor, the information we already discussed in the multiple example, so I don't want to discuss more on this particular constructor related stuff here. Any number of parameter you can provide, and you can make any conditions here. So same thing it is applicable for the method, constructor, for class. The conditions will be the same, only the type how we can define into the method or constructor we need to understand like this. Now what I'm doing here, I'm going to create a generic cons and GC generic cons I'm trying to provide, and what is the type we can provide. Getting the point? So here if I'm trying to providing 100, what happens internally? It will try to convert this particular integer value into double value. Why it will convert? We are calling double value here. Okay, the double value method we are calling, because of this it will call internally. And finally and here now what I'm doing is I'm trying to provide, so this is the double value I'm giving, and GC D and GCI. I is nothing but in integer and D is nothing but double. So GCI dot show val method and GCD dot show val method. 100 and 85.47. Getting the point? So this is a way of creating the dynamic like a generic constructor here, and if you're interested, you can make this particular condition, otherwise you can. And if you're interested to provide the additional parameters, something like you can take here a small a I'm trying to take here, and here, so it is expecting 2. Now what we can do, after this particular number, I'm going to provide as a, and here you can provide any number of values, any number of values. So for example, I can print string, and here I can provide something like true. Observe carefully, the first object I'm providing as a string, second object I'm providing as a true, because it is a generic type. Any number of data type we can provide. But only the problem, if we want to make some restrictions here, now what we can do, we'll make the condition like this. We'll make the condition like this here. Okay. So finally, what we can do here, so this values we cannot use. If I'm going to run this example, we'll print only those single values. Okay, we are getting only the single values here. This is one of the important example we are discussing here. Any questions regarding this particular method and the constructor? Okay, if we don't have anything, now what I will do, I will try to create the interfaces here. So how we can create the generic interfaces? This is important information we need to understand, because we created the classes here, constructors, methods. Now we are moving on to the interfaces. So let me create the generic interfaces. And here, now what I'm doing here, the name of the interface, min-max I'm trying to create. And internally, what happens this particular interface basically, now you can see, this is important here. Same T we can provide here, and T will return the minimum, and the same T will return the maximum. Okay, because interface will contain only abstract methods here. So I'm not providing the method body here. So just I'm trying to declaring the method. And here also you can make the all the conditions here. So whatever the condition we identified here, you can use the same, the extend with the number, or extend with the comparable, or extend with any the custom classes what we are going to create. All the classes we can write here. Getting the point. Now, so see carefully. This is the interface we defined here. Now finally, I'm going to create the class, because this interface we need to implement here. Getting the point. So whatever the created whatever the interface we created, we need to implement this. And how I'm trying to implement here? Min-max IMPL, and it is a implementation class. And whenever I'm trying to implement here, I'm going to write this implements min-max here. Now observe carefully, I'm getting an error. The type I'm getting an error here, and here, so basically is expecting to implement these two. Now observe carefully why I'm getting this particular T. Getting the point. So here the implements T, the T we already provided in the interface level, but whenever I'm trying to use this particular same T at the class level, now I'm getting an error here. Now I'm getting an error here. So because here also we need to write the T. Here also we need to define the T. Otherwise, This example will not compile here. Now, after this, now what I'm doing here, I can write whatever you are interested here. So, see, this is the values I'm declaring here. Okay. And I'm going to use constructor public min-max IMPL. And here I'm going to use something like O VALS is equals to O, not 0 O. Okay, so this is the constructor I'm calling, and what we are doing basically inside this particular minimum, I will try to write the code here. So observe carefully, we are trying to return the T. So what is the T we are going to return here? Now here, observe carefully, inside this particular VALS, I'm trying to load the 0, like it's like a first index value. Okay, the first index value will contain the type only. So whatever the T we are having. Okay, now what I'm doing here I'm trying to write the one loop here. Why I'm writing? Because we need to find out the minimum value. Into I is equals to 1 I'm trying to write, because the zero value we already loading in line number 10. And here I less than, now what I need to make the condition, VLS dot length here. So I plus plus. After making this particular condition, I'm going to write the if condition, and if VALS of I, if it is getting the point. Now what I'm doing here minimum and maximum we are using. Whenever we are using the minimum and maximum, so I explain one method here. Getting the point? Because in all the classes the method is available. What is the method? Something like compare to method. The compare to method is available in all the some classes I explained, like integer, number, all the classes. So we need to use, because here we are using the what is the minimum value and what is the maximum value. We cannot go for the equals. And here I don't have an option to use this particular compare method, because if I'm trying to write here, it is not returning anything. But how we can write here? What is the condition we can use here? Because then only whenever we are using the condition, then only we can easily understand this. So observe here I'm trying to write the type here. So this particular type is extends with comparable. I'm making T. Now if you observe carefully, whenever I'm trying to write comparable, we'll get the compare to. Okay, here I'm getting the compare to. I'm going to pass as this particular V, and because we need to find out the minimum value. So the minimum value we can find out the less than 0. So if we find out the greater than 0, that is a maximum value. That one is a maximum value. And here now what I'm doing, if it is this, V is equals to whatever the VALS I, whatever the VLSI value we are having, now I'm trying to store. So finally return V. Finally we are trying to use this particular return V. And the same code I'm going to use, the same code I'm going to use for this particular maximum, but only here I'm going to make the condition as a greater than. Okay, so this is important here. But how I'm making the conditions here, this is so minimum condition how I'm trying to make, and maximum condition how I'm trying to make. But everything, the minimum will return the dynamic value, maximum will return the dynamic value. So whatever the type of values we are going to provide, based on that it will try to provide the all the values here. Okay, and here I'm trying to use, these are all the main example, and I will define here integer enums. So some values 45, 96, 78, 74, 114, 63, 85, and 23. Okay, some values I'm using, and this is a integer. Second one I'm using characters. Character, and here I'm using CNUM here, or we can go for the these are all the some values I'm trying to give. Okay, up to this are fine. Whatever I'm defining, these are all the characters. Okay, integer and the characters we defined here. And finally, now what I'm doing here, I want to create object. What is an object we need to create here? Something like min and maximum IMPL here. IMPL1, no, min and maximum. So what is expecting basically here? It is expecting comparable type here. It is expecting the comparable type. So now I will give you I nums here. Okay, and one more I'm going to pass. This is I will give as a CHS. This I'm giving as a CHS second one. And using this, now what I will do, IMPL min method I'm calling. And I'm returning this minimum, maximum I'm returning. And here, what we can do, IMPL to minimum, IMPL to maximum. Okay, this is important here. Now observe carefully. Here I missed to provide the type here. What is the type we can provide? Integer. And here, what is the type we can provide here? Character. Okay. Now why I'm getting this minimum max is a raw type, references should be parameterized. And okay, it is expecting to parameters here. So basically it is not needed here. If you're not interested also, it will not give any error here. Getting the point? It will not give any error here. Only whatever the type we are providing here, for this particular type, it is fine here. And here, if you are not providing, we are not going to get any compilation error. And finally, if I'm running this, now you can see 14 is the minimum value, 96 is the maximum value. And the same way, both are A, minimum and maximum. Getting the point? So why we are getting the A here, minimum and maximum here? Because basically, these are all the some bigger value we provided. For example, if I'm going to provide some simple values, so something like here, BR, PW, and here if I'm going to provide Z. So now, so carefully observe what is the values we are getting. Now you can see I'm getting as a B. B is a minimum value or B is a maximum value we are getting here. Because so we don't have another values. Why it is showing? Basically it is wrong. It is making some different here. Anything I'm missing here? I think no. Compared to V greater than 0, V values of I and value 1 and value 0. Okay, everything we are passing. So we'll see. Here I'm putting the breakpoint for this particular character is not working because the maximum we should get as x here. Because based on this particular Unicode value, x is having some bigger value. Now, let me run this example. So, like, what is the values we are getting? These are all the integers here. 45, 96 integers. Now, I don't want to use this particular integers here. Okay, still it is integers. Oh, what happens? Okay, got it. Here I did not change. This is basically min only we are calling. This is basically minimum method only we are calling it. Because of that, it is returning the BB. Now you can see B comma X here. Getting the point. This is important. If you want to understand here the earlier example also, it will return the same here. Finally, here I am going to write maximum here. Now you can run A comma E. E is the bigger value compared to this particular A. A is having some minimum value. Okay, so this is the way we can define the interfaces and we can write the implementation. But observe carefully, dynamically all the data types we are modifying here. So at runtime, the data is going to modify. Not only this integer and character, you can write a person class, member class, or any whatever the box class we created here. Okay, based on that we can write the appropriate conditions here and it will execute here. Okay, any questions regarding this particular interface here? If you don't have anything yet, now tomorrow one of the important example we are going to discuss about the something like lambda related example here. Okay, this up to this whatever we discuss here, these are all the generic concept we discuss here, and tomorrow also one of the important concept we are discussing, that is called lambda expression. The lambda expression internally it is introduced from the 1.8 onwards here. Okay, we'll see how this particular lambda is going to work in the tomorrow session.